Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Hi, Mrs. Weedman. How the hell are you?
Well, that's different. I'm
is.
great, Mr. Weedman. How are you?
I got a little high before the show started. Just a little high. I had to do my reel for the day, and I had to smoke. So I'm a little high before the show starts, but I'm ready to smoke some more.
I'm ready to smoke some.
You ready to smoke something? Hey, everybody out in the world. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're smoking a big fat doink while you're listening to the show. We are going to smoke some sugar biscuit. And Mr. G gave me this from a friend of his who's a home grower. So, Mrs. Weedman, light that 8 Decades bowl up in our wonderful 8 Decades tray.
Okay.
That will be coming soon, by the way. And light that sugar biscuit while I tell people what it is. Sugar biscuit. THC ranges around 21%. It's also known as sugar biscuits. Is a potent indica cannabis strain made crossing animal cookies and do-si-do. The effects of sugar biscuit are strong and relaxing. Good thing I warned you, Mrs. Weedman. Mm-hmm. Consumers say the strain delivers an intense cerebral high that calms your entire body and mind. My voice
Is this what you smoked?
Yes, I did.
It is. Okay. I'm going to be on your level in a minute.
When consumed in large doses, sugar biscuit may make you feel sleepy or sedated. The best time to enjoy this strain is during the podcast. No, I'm sorry, during the evening when you have no other important task to complete. Uh-oh. Because sugar biscuit is believed to have a high THC content, the strain is best reserved for experienced cannabis consumers with high tolerance for THC. The flavor profile of sugar biscuit is lemony and floral. You can expect the light citrus and flowery smells rounded out by a sugary sweetness. Sugar biscuit is rated high by medical cannabis patients suffering from sleepiness and mental stress, or I should say sleeplessness and mental stress. The dominant terpene in sugar biscuit is limonene, followed by caryophyllene and linalool. Mr. Weedman loves those three. According to growers, the strain flowers into tall, lumpy nugs with mixed green foliage, burnt orange hairs, and average trichome coverage. Sugar biscuit has an average flowering time of about 70 days and produces an average yield size. So feelings: happy, hungry, relaxed. Strain flavors: skunky, diesel, pungent. Sugar biscuit helps with depression, insomnia, and cramps. Nice. Might have to find this strain myself and grow it.
You got cramps?
No, but we know some people that might get cramps.
Right.
And they'd probably love it. I like it because of the depression, insomnia, sleeplessness, and all that good stuff. I don't get cramps. So, yeah. So, happy. Like I said, dominant terpenes. Great stuff, man. I'm so excited. We just got done watching Stranger Things. And I tell you what. Stranger Things it was. What a crazy episode. That I know they're going to show the rest. They showed the first 7 and then they got the next 7 after that, I believe, but that Vecna series is phenomenal, especially if you play D&D and you know the whole series as it is too. So
but I enjoyed it, even though I don't know who Vecna is in Dungeons and Dragons.
You did.
It was still good. Pretty, and I'm not a sci-fi person, but it was good.
It was good. I liked it. So I can't wait for the next episodes to come out. I just got done watching Obi-Wan. Oh, Vader, my hero. So good in it. Obi-Wan was great too. The whole series was great. What else? O-Dog is home.
Yeah.
Our daughter is home. She's come back home to stay with us for a while and save up some money and then go travel the world. Welcome home, O-Dog. We missed you. Good to have you home. She was been away for about 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to have
Way
her
out
home.
in the Pacific Northwest.
That's it. We have lots of friends out there and another kid out there.
Yeah.
Yuki's training's going well. Second week of training. She didn't get kicked out, right?
Yeah. She was the shy dog, though.
I know. She's very shy.
So she met a Doberman and maybe some sort of
cattle dog, collie or something like that. Yeah, both very cute.
They were super sweet.
Yeah, very nice. What else happened this weekend? Great, beautiful weather.
Beautiful.
Oh, gorgeous out here in Chicago right now. Can't beat it right now. Also, Mr. Weedman started a video series, reels and stories and Sunday morning smoke session. So join in with Mr. Weedman.
On
Send
Instagram.
us stuff on Instagram, yes, and on TikTok. I put the videos on TikTok too. TikTok banned one of my videos because I didn't realize you couldn't actually smoke weed on TikTok. So now I take a hit and then start recording and blow it out. So some cool stuff though that's going on in the Weedman 420 Chronicles podcast world. Mrs. Weedman's got some great stuff coming too down the pipe. The trays will be coming soon, right?
Yep, 8 decades.
8 decades trays.
We're tweaking it and trying to listen to what people want and fine tune our website and just get things ready and geared up so that when those smoking sets come in, we're ready to get them out to everybody.
For the holiday season.
Yeah.
You ready to start the show?
I'm ready. That stuff already made me feel like
really.
I'm 100% sitting down right now.
I'm going to take another hit.
Couch lock.
I haven't taken a hit.
No, you shouldn't.
One more.
You shouldn't.
One more.
I think you're pretty good.
I need one more.
Oh, geez, Louise. This is when.
Should I wait till after this article while you're going to your article?
Yeah, I think you should.
All right, I'll wait.
All right. Take a breather.
I will. We had some people ask us again about dabbing. And I figured we've talked about dabbing and we've talked about concentrates on the show before. But since 7/10, the National Oil Holiday, Concentrate Holiday, Dabbing Holiday is coming up, I figured I'd talk about it now to get you into the holiday season of 7/10. So what is dabbing? The world of dabbing can be confusing to the uninitiated. It might seem like insider baseball with all its terms and abbreviations. Dabs are concentrated forms of cannabis that come in a variety of textures. They're consumed in a dab rig, electronic rig, or a dab pen. The process of dabbing is extremely hot. Flash vaporizes dabs that range between 400 and 600 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas combustion or smoking flower happens around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. A typical dab rig looks similar to a bong. It's a glass piece with a chamber for water, except instead of the bowl for flower, a rig has a nail for dabs. Because of the high temperature needed to dab, the nail is usually heated with a torch and allowed to cool to the right temperature before dropping in a dab. Dabs are named for the texture, and their texture is indicative of the process used to create them. There are numerous extraction methods to create a myriad of different dabs. And this is going to be a two-part article. So I'm going to start. Mrs. Weedman is going to take over, and then I'm going to finish it because it is a very long article. So all dabs are sticky and can be messy to work with and can be a variety of colors, yellow, amber, brown, even white. Dabs are named for their texture, and their texture is indicative of the process again. And what's the difference between concentrates, extracts, and dabs? The extraction process begins with trichomes, the resinous glands on the cannabis plant, which contains cannabinoids such as THC and CBD and terpenes. I'm going to let this gentleman tell you what terpenes are, because I've told you it 100 times, so let him tell you.
Skittles, but I'm tasting some kind of guava tangy, sour banangy tangy, guava dog, diesel, whole lot of turf shit. So that turf shit, turf motivation, turf elevation, champagne, cut a cane, turfed up, on the scene, keeping it Krispy Kreme, purple Hindu Kush from the purple Hindu Valley, San Francisco, doing turfs in the club, torch up, hype die movement. These kids go crazy for candy out here, I don't speak English, I speak Turpanese. What's your name, bro? Young Turps. It was a turpy day. Psychoactive, turpy active. Banangy, tempered, lemon, tangy, guava tail.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I speak Turpanese.
I've seen that video and watched that video so many times, and I had to find it because I've talked about terpenes so much. I wanted somebody else to talk about it on the show. I speak Turpanese. Young Terps, baby. There are several extraction methods which separate trichomes from cannabis plant material to create the cannabis extract. These can have a texture and consistency like oil, sap, wax, butter, taffy, sauce, and much, 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 much more. These extractions are concentrated forms of cannabis containing only the resin from trichomes and no plant material, and are also called cannabis concentrates. These terms extract and concentrate are interchangeable. Most concentrates or extracts are consumed through the process of dabbing. Concentrates or extracts consumed through dabbing can also be called dabs. Some concentrates or extracts are not dabbed, such as kief tinctures, which are usually alcohol extractions, and others, so these are not dabs, but they are concentrates or extracts because they remove trichomes from the plant material into a concentrated form of cannabis. Vape pens, which utilize vape cartridges, are extractions that have then been diluted with additives so that they are much less potent. Vape pens and cartridges are not dabs because they do not use a dab rig. What are oils? What are oil and hash? Oil and hash can be confusing terms because they can be used as catch-all terms to refer to extracts more generally, but can also refer to specific extractions. For example, oil can also refer specifically to distillate, an extract with an oil-like consistency, and hash can refer to dry sift or brick hash specifically. However, we all said this, July 10th is known as the Oil Day, a day to celebrate cannabis extractions, not just distillate. Likewise, the term hash head doesn't necessarily mean who loves dry sift hash, but extracts in general. Dabbing isn't for everyone, especially if you're new to cannabis. Please, if this is like your first week of smoking or first month or first 3 or 4 months of smoking, let's just say it's your first day and someone says, I got something for you got to try. And they pull out this rig and this torch, say, do you have flour instead? And just tell them, wait, I'm new. I need to learn and experience and experiment. Get me used to doing a 75% to a 98% dab. Okay? So newbies, people have never done a dab before. If your buddy goes, hey man, I got a dab for you. Relax, be patient, and read or listen to this podcast and get experience before you decide to reach for a dab rig.
I've still never done a dab. I've had distillate in a joint, right?
You've had cartridges and stuff like that. You have had live resin cartridge. You've smoked live resin cartridges.
Yeah, I know that.
You have not had a dab, but you're going to be dabbing
And what about
soon.
wax?
You have not had wax either.
No. Well, I've had it on a joint.
A joint,
right?
yes. But you've never done a dab rig.
No, I've never.
You will soon.
We'll see. We'll see.
But when also make sure you get tested products. Make sure they're clean. Potency. Like I said, some consumers have a high tolerance for cannabis and just want a potent cannabis experience, while others enjoy the ritual of it. Just be careful. Make sure you know the potency. Flavor. Dabs are flavorful, and they're very terps, full of terpenes. A great concentrate will carry the flavor and aroma of original plant through the extraction process and into the final product when you dab. I just was smelling a couple of butters, and I was smelling some different stuff, and it was terpy. It was wonderful. It smelled just absolutely beautiful. So, cleaner. Extracts have been properly made can also be cleaner, pure, and easier on the lungs. When smoking cannabis, burned plant matter produces resin and hot smoke. But extracts eliminate most of these unwanted materials while still delivering essential cannabinoids, terpenes, and other compounds. Quick onset of effects. Patients with severe or chronic pain or extreme nausea report that dabbing cannabis extracts can be one of the best ways to get immediate and effective relief. Dabbing safety. Dabbing is different from smoking, vaping, or taking edibles and has its own concerns. It's important to note that the long-term effects of dabbing cannabis concentrates are not fully known because they haven't been researched extensively. So, just remember that. Can you overdose on them? No. No one's ever overdosed on cannabis. Can you get fucked up? Yes. You can get fucked up. So just be careful. But if you're experienced and you know how to use it, you love dabs. I know people that's all they do now, and they swear by dabs. They love them. They rip them all day long, and they work and do everything on them. I know people that have those Puffcos, and they have those other dab rigs that you could take out with you and stuff like that, and just dab hits all day long. So just make sure you just don't exceed your personal THC limit. And it may lead to uncomfortable and overwhelming intense effects. You might feel like you're tripping on some acid. You might get some good hallucinations. So just be careful. It's complicated. Lighting up the bowl is complicated. Don't touch it. You'll fucking burn your hand. It's always a good idea to start with a small dab and slowly increase the amount you're comfortable to ensure a positive experience. I've watched people dab like 5 feet strings, just long, just they can do it. Crazy. So, solvents is important to always get cannabis products that have been lab tested and approved in the legal market. And this is especially crucial with dabs, as many are made with solvents or chemicals. Solvents must be purged out of the final product, and legal markets have strict regulations on the amount of residual solvents that can be in products before they can be sold. Dabs that have been tested and approved could contain trace amounts of solvents that could damage your lungs and body. High temperatures. Nails and e-nails get extremely hot, sometimes up to 600 degrees Fahrenheit, so touching one, even accidentally, will not be pleasant. Take caution when working with one, and always wait for all the pieces to cool down before you even think about touching them, as I just said. And if you're concerned with using the torch, try the e-nail or e-rig. They still get extremely hot, but they cut out the need for the torch and provide steady, consistent heat. So I'm going to go into part 2 here when Mrs. Weedman is done with her article. And her article is absolutely amazing because I'm going to get baked and listen in. Mrs. Weedman?
Yep.
This is a conspiracy theory right here. This is a good article.
It's interesting.
Good. It was very interesting.
Right?
Very.
And you might agree or disagree with this article, but I think it really comes down to them identifying. So this is called the Great Cannabis Microdosing.
Totally his opinion.
Right. PR conspiracy. And it really is from an angle of PR, public relations, advertising, marketing a product to sell more. That's the angle of this article.
Yes.
Not saying that microdosing is bad.
100%.
Right? Because microdosing is great, and it's a really great way to medically use cannabis. So we're not poking at microdosing as a healthy option. This is really about marketing strategies.
Yes, and basically this is a gentleman's name is Jim Devine, and it is High Times Magazine.
Yeah, we've read about him before.
Yes, so I thought it was a great article. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So open mind, open ears.
America's favorite pot critic breaks down perhaps the most asinine practice in consumption today, microdosing. Let's go to Costco and get the big tinfoil guy. We're not making hats, we're making suits of armor as we decide whether microdosing in cannabis is a PR conspiracy to make a little bit of pot worth a whole lot of money, or at least a little bit more. That's what we're talking about. Jim, what is this madness, you ask as you peel back your aluminum face shield? The most fundamental idea of the conspiracy is that microdosing was never about consumer safety. Whoa. Consumer safety was a Trojan horse hiding an artificial bar for competition in the marketplace. The premise being, if you can only put 100 milligrams of cannabis inside of an infused product, people won't be purchasing based on value anymore, and the little guy that wants to create a product for you can't anymore. The financial aspect of it is all pretty sad. In the process of preventing consumers' access, they also blocked a wave of operators who based their sales models on value for being competitive in the marketplace. Overnight, it turned into a battle of flavors and suckers since everything had the same dosage. I'll use Kurova's 1,000 milligram black bar as an example. It was predated by their 500 milligram 5150 bar. Both were wildly popular with patients. I may have sold 6 figures worth of them myself in Berkeley at CBCB, where I still work to this day. This is the author. Kurova first burst onto the scene in the early 2010s. Oh my gosh, I'm hard. Kurova first burst onto the scene in the early 2010s with a lineup of a few cookies and the 5150 bar. While Bang Chocolates would get the nod on the earliest lab testing data on their edibles for potency, Kurova was right there on their heels as the first baked goods company of note to do it. Patients loved it. For $20, they could get a 5150 bar and cut it into squares. The 500 milligram would go a long way for people on a fixed income that use cannabis as medicine. Kurova saw the popularity and launched the 1,000 milligram black bar a year later. Then it all changed on January 1st, 2018. The black bars went into the freezer. Patients and advocates thought there might be some fix. But now, over 4 years later, we know they were unfortunately wrong. Nothing has ever really come along to fill the high dosage gap that was left by the quest for the almighty dollar. Because how could it have been about safety? Today, as you read this, around 29 people will die in a car collision that involves a drunk driver. So the idea that we have to deny the sick access to affordable medicine under the guise of public safety while people are dying over recreational substances is gross. The sheer economics those patients face now is horrendous. That $40 for 1,000 milligrams could now easily run over $100, with a $100 figure based on $10 per 100 milligrams. So it's almost like they just set a bar, like a standard. All edibles are sold in a maximum 100 milligram packaging. So there's 10 doses of 10 milligrams.
That's like here in Illinois.
Right,
yeah.
right.
California.
So it's just become a standard. Yep. And you can't sell anything stronger. It could
Unless
be...
you're in Oklahoma.
Yeah, right? And you can do whatever you want. So now it's costing people more, right? While it's below average for anything decent, you're still talking about a number that is 150% higher than 4 years ago. And while it's easy to focus on the patients, don't forget the small farmers. How many people would love to be making high dosage edibles? The dosage cap pushes the industry farther towards mass production because you're making so many more products with the same amount of pot. Again, making it difficult for the little guy that may want to low dose edibles. How is this standard operating procedure supposed to be competitive with the industry monsters? It's not. And it never will be. At this point, the mom and pops are straight in on the edible side and surviving off the reputation they built in years past. Sure, the big dog can pump out their gummies a few bucks cheaper and ride those lowest costs all the way to the shelves, but what did they ever do for the game? Right?
Nothing.
Right. For all these reasons, it's easy to understand why people get a little skeptical of the 100 milligram THC cap on edibles. But even once you take the tinfoil off, remember this guy made a tinfoil suit because he was going to battle on this topic, right? But even once you take the tinfoil off, it's certainly fair to ask questions. Who's benefiting from this? Are we any safer? Really, are we? Who isn't able to afford the same quality of life because of it? People who are using this medically, has it affected them negatively, right? Because again, the cost, it's caused cost increase.
Think if you're a medical
right?
cannabis, you should be able to
You
buy
should be
up
able
to
to get
1,000, 2,500 milligrams, whatever your prescription or whatever allows,
Right.
your state should be able to medically get you that milligram dosage, at least 1,000 milligrams, especially people on a fixed budget, like you said.
Who isn't able to afford the same quality of life because of it? When you run down the answers to those questions, it's hard to understand why we're not talking about changing this. The idea of reform is weird. We all agree the merger of Proposition 64 and California's forthcoming medical marijuana regulations at the time was a shit show. Yet they refuse to go back and talk about this big mistake that impacted the sick and not just the industry as a whole. So, I don't know. How does the consumer community fight that? I mean, I guess you have to get behind the legislators and
you have to you have to probably get it changed,
get
the
your
law
voice
changed.
out there.
Yeah, and especially here in Illinois, the rules and regulations, you have to go to your probably your state legislative representatives, congressmen, Senate, start talking
write
to them.
letters,
Write
calls,
letters. Yeah,
send emails.
I mean, medically, 1,000 milligrams. Most people who are cancer patients, 100 milligrams doesn't do anything for them, and some of them can't smoke at all. So they have to buy 500 million. They're just going to go right back to opioids again.
Right.
Is that what we truly want?
It's so expensive. If you have the money to buy 1,000 milligrams in a month, say, you're consuming way too. Now you're dealing with over-consuming sweets and.
So you get 100 milligrams here in Illinois, roughly for a gummies, 1,000 milligrams, 10 milligrams per dose. 10 per is $30.
It's $30 for 10 doses of 10 milligrams.
Right. No. Would you say that one more time?
$30 for 10 doses of 10 milligrams.
Yes.
100 milligram total.
100 milligram total. So say someone needed 1,000 milligrams.
It's $3 for 10 milligrams, basically.
It's $300.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Right. Opioids is cheaper. If you have insurance and all that, you can't get insured for cannabis here in Illinois.
Let's not encourage that.
I'm not encouraging that.
They just need to change the laws.
I'm saying they need to change the law medically for the medical patients. Should be able to get up to 1,000 milligrams and get it for a reasonable price.
Well, here's the thing. If you are buying recreationally, is there ever do they track how much cannabis you buy? Like with a medical card, we could have 2.5 ounces.
They track that
in a month, right?
It resets every 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Do they track recreational users?
They track that you're buying, but I don't think they track. They track that you went into the store.
They don't
through your
track how much
driver's license.
THC you're
They don't track
purchasing.
it. No.
So you could buy as much as you want.
No, you can't. I think. How does it work? How do the laws?
Well, I mean, you could, right? Because
Yeah.
you could have your brother and your
Right.
aunt and your uncle, and it's a big pain in the ass. But
Right.
if you had money, you could have a million
I think
milligrams.
you can't go in the. You can if you go in the store in the dispo to buy, you can only buy a certain amount of milligrams
per visit.
per visit. So you can in that day. So you can't go and buy. I think it's like so many ounces or so many grams, whatever. So yeah, but that's with recreational.
Right.
But here with medical, they should be able to get 1,000 milligrams for like $75, $100. I mean, you go to Oklahoma medically, you get 10,000 milligrams for $100 now. So I'm not saying go that deep, but you feel me?
I feel you.
I feel you.
I gotcha.
How are dabs made? Part 2 of this. There are numerous ways to create cannabis extraction, but all extraction processes remove trichomes, which contain valuable cannabinoids and terpenes, terps, from cannabis plant material into a concentrated form. There are a few factors that contribute to concentrate's texture, potency, and flavor. Type and quality of cannabis source materials used for extraction, trim, buds, whole plants, hash, etc. Methods of extraction, either solvent or solventless. Post-extraction refining techniques, dewaxing, winterization, whipping. Source material. Most dabs are made either trim or flower as the starting material. When cannabis plants are harvested, sugar leaves and other plant material is clipped away from the buds. This is trim. And a batch of concentrate made with it is called a trim run. When only flower is used to create a batch of concentrate, it's called a nug run. Nug runs are higher in quality than trim runs because buds have more trichomes. Cannabis plants can also be cut down and immediately frozen at harvest, and the whole plant put in an extractor that maintains freezing temperatures throughout the process. Using frozen plants give the extract a live label, such as live resin or live rosin. Using frozen plants is cheaper and less labor-intensive for the grower because they don't have to trim, dry, and cure plants. Solventlet extractions. Dabs are most commonly made in bulk by commercial extractors. To do so, cannabis plant materials and solvent such as butane, propane, etc. is placed in a contained closed-loop system for several hours, creating a concentrate slurry in which the solvent strips trichomes from the plant material. The solvent is then purged from the slurry and the cannabis extraction pulled from the machine. Solvent extractions will often be further refined. Because butane is primarily used in solvent extractions, these cannabis products are commonly known as BHO, or butane hash oil. Butane, propane, propane, and other common solvents are also called hydrocarbons. So solvent extraction can be also called hydrocarbon extraction. Common solvent extractions include shatter, wax, live resin, butter, batter, crumble, sugar, taffy, and many more. These are usually cheaper and easier to make than solventless extractions, but are made with chemical solvents. Decades ago, in the beginning of cannabis extraction, open extraction systems were used, but they are highly, highly flammable, very dangerous, and should never be used anymore. All legal cannabis markets today require solvent extraction be done in closed-loop systems by trained, licensed professionals for safety. Solventless extractions. Solventless extractions use temperature changes and physical manipulation to separate trichomes from the cannabis plant material. For example, bubble hash is created by placing cannabis plant material in ice water and agitating it, which freezes and breaks off trichomes. Dry sift hash is created by rubbing plant material through a set of screens, collecting the resin or keef, and then pressing it together. Rosin is created by pressing cannabis between two heated plates to squeeze out hot oil. Some solventless extraction methods have been around for thousands of years. I saw a video of a way they used to do it probably, I don't know, 1,000 years ago, maybe. They had big tree logs, like maybe they weighed like 200,
I saw that
500
too.
pounds each. And,
Yeah.
and it was layers upon layers, and they took these two big trees. It probably had to weigh maybe they weighed a half a ton each. I don't know. And they pressed it together, and you just watched all the beautiful, beautiful rosin just come out. Ugh, just amazing. Some solvent extraction methods have been around for thousands of years, and all solventless extractions are natural, handmade, and thought to be cleaner because they don't use chemicals. They are usually more expensive than solvent dabs because they are more labor intensive. and you can also make them yourself. Dun, dun, dun. Post-extraction cleanup. Once the solventless extraction is created, it's usually ready to consume, but solvent extractions are usually refined after being purged of solvents and pulled from the extraction machine. Dewaxing and winterization are refining processes that remove plant lipids, fats, and waxes from an extraction. They are removed to make concentrates less harsh and more flavorful, and to make them look clear, not cloudy. A concentrate can also be whipped, turning the oily extract into waxy one. This agitation causes THCA to break away and crystallize, and for terpenes to break away from cannabinoids. This process is done to bring out a stronger aroma and flavor in an extract. Extracts are often put in a vacuum oven to further remove residual solvents in the safe manner. So, there's many types of dabs, and we've talked about it, but let's just finish it with this. Solvent extractions. These concentrates are made with solvent or chemicals such as butane or propane in closed-loop system by licensed technicians. Solvents are then purged out of the product at the end of the extraction process. They are usually cheaper and easy to produce than solventless extracts. All cannabis extractions made with solvents and sold in legal market must be tested for residual solvents remaining in the product. If their levels are too high, they do not pass testing and will not be sold. It's important to buy solvent extraction products from legal market to ensure safe level of residual solvents. So there's oil, there's shatter, there's wax, there's taffy and pull snap, there's butter, batter, and batter, butter, batter, and batter, batter. That's a BATTER and BADDDER. Then there's sugar, crumble. Then there's the live resin. Then there's diamonds are forever, sauce. So then there's the solventless extractions, which is rosin, hash, dry sift, bubble hash, aka ice water hash or ice hash. So hopefully that helps. 710's coming up, and if you're willing to try some dabs or get yourself with some experienced people. So enjoy it. Have fun with it. 710's coming. I'm stoned.
Yeah.
Pretty good stoned, though.
Yeah.
Like I want to smoke more. Prescription drugs, which we were just talking about.
Right.
Cannabis for the win, baby.
Yeah. Adult use cannabis reduces prescription drug demand. Maybe all cannabis use is medical use after all. To date, legal cannabis in America has been understood in one of two ways: medicine or fun. There's medical cannabis, requiring a qualifying condition and a doctor's recommendation before any legal weed can be accessed. And then there's adult use cannabis or recreational cannabis, requiring nothing but a government-issued ID proving your age. But what if there's a third way? Or what if, as the late activist Dennis Perone used to say, all cannabis use was medical, or at least part of a general wellness strategy? Recent research that demonstrates a drop in prescription drug use in states that legalized adult use cannabis suggests that this may be the case. In the past, the passage of medical cannabis laws has been associated with a drop in prescription pharmaceuticals. The effect of adult use cannabis laws is less studied. So researchers looked at Medicaid prescriptions filled between 2011 and 2019 in all 50 states. And in states that legalized adult use cannabis, not medical, but adult use, recreational, they found significant reductions in prescriptions filled for drugs meant to treat pain, depression, anxiety, sleep, psychosis, and seizures. According to a research article published in April in the journal Health Economics, or put another way, so that was according to that article. And then put it another way, legalization seems to present a significant medical benefit along with the familiar arguments for social justice and new sources of tax revenue. People are self-medicating with cannabis, and while it's hard to say for certain whether they're achieving the same results, the fact that they don't seem to be returning to pharmaceuticals is suggestive. As study co-author Sham Rahman, a PhD student at Cornell University's Jeb E. Brooks School of Public Policy, said in a recent interview. What adult use cannabis legalization does is open up an opportunity to self-medicate without seeing a doctor and potentially be denied because your sickness isn't on a qualifying list of conditions, said Rahman, who stressed that while only Medicaid data was studied, these results are applicable to the general population. There's some real evidence people are self-medicating and people aren't switching back to pharmaceuticals. Among the drug classes studied, Rahman and study co-author Ashley Bradford, a researcher and PhD student at Indiana University, saw the steepest drop in demand for anxiety, depression, insomnia, and psychosis, with drops of 10.7 to 12.2%. That's a drop in pharmaceutical use. In addition to potential cost savings for Medicaid programs, adult use cannabis legalization may present an additional harm reduction benefit, the researchers found. With people dropping off or reducing reliance on pharmaceutical drugs with nasty side effects as easier to access over-the-counter recreational cannabis becomes available. We believe that people are making the switch because the side effects of pharmaceuticals are really frustrating, Rahman said. The findings suggest adopting both a more sophisticated and expansive understanding of adult use cannabis legalization and the fact that no matter what you call it, cannabis generally may be a wellness product, a fact that advocates pushing for adult use cannabis legalization on the state and federal levels shouldn't neglect. The adult use cannabis market in most states is just easier to utilize because patients don't have to pay for a medical card and they don't have to get a doctor's recommendation, said Debbie Chergai, executive director of Americans for Safe Access, arguably the country's leading medical-first cannabis policy advocacy group. But as always, it's also a reminder that cannabis is truly under-researched. Key questions, including dosage and regimen, remain unanswered, leaving patients, regardless of whether they're officially enrolled in a state's program or not, to figure out dosage for themselves. We still don't know how to regulate cannabis as a medicine, Rahman said. How are we in a position to say this is medical without being able to say this is the amount that you need to take for therapeutic use? So, is cannabis always medical? Is all recreational cannabis also medical? Or is there a third way of understanding cannabis to give you another classification? It's hard to say for certain, and ultimately, it may not matter. What this does suggest is that certain forces in the cannabis industry might need to reevaluate their messaging and branding. They can't forget about the medical cannabis patients because they're part of the adult use market segment too. If you go to these business conferences, you barely even see or hear the word patient in any presentation, Chergai said. I do think that's being lost more and more as our industry gets bigger. They think the adult use cannabis market will be bigger than the medical cannabis market. But as this research suggests, the differences aren't nearly as sharp and distinct as we might have thought. Medical and adult use cannabis just may turn out to be precisely the exact same thing.
Hell yeah.
The downfall, though, is that if people are avoiding going to a doctor because they're concerned they're not going to fall into a qualifying condition and then they're paying recreational, they're also paying, in most states, they're paying more.
Right.
You can get more THC, but your taxes as a medical patient are lower. So if you're buying recreationally when you could qualify for a medical card.
Depending on the state.
Right. Depends on the state.
Right.
You might be paying more. So.
Illinois, you don't.
No. Mm-mm. It's cheaper for a medical patient to buy cannabis in Illinois.
Yeah.
Big time.
Taxes. Mm-hmm. Tax-wise, yes. You only pay 3% or 2% sales tax, and that's
versus
it.
Like 25%.
Between 20 and
30.
almost 40.
Wow.
So yeah, 36%. It's crazy. So EPA warns workers they're banned from using cannabis or investing in the industry in a new memo. This is a little bit of an old article. I hadn't had a chance to read it. But so the Environmental Protection Agency is reminding its workers they are prohibited from using cannabis or directly investing in the industry. I don't understand. Like, I know it's federally illegal and they're federal workers, but why not? Why not invest? Who cares if you invest in it or not? It's their money. You know, that's just weird. Come on, EPA, get your shit together. That's weird. Medical cannabis legalization linked to reduced drunk driving and safer roads. Study on auto insurance data suggests. I was dumbfounded when I read that. So auto insurance premiums decreased in states following the legalization of medical cannabis, according to a new study that builds on existing research signaling that cannabis reform is associated with reduced risk of dangerous driving, contrary to prohibitionist arguments. The study was published in this month in the Journal of Health Economics, analyzed insurance data from 2014 to 2019. Found that premiums dropped by about $22 per year on average after states enacting legalization. And the study authors think that may have something to do with the reduced drunk driving in those states, signaling a possible substitution effect whereby people switch from alcohol to cannabis. I know $22 isn't a lot, but it's still pretty cool to hear that, you know? Good for cannabis. Louisiana governor signs 10 cannabis bills, including significant medical cannabis expansion. This was pretty good because the one thing I truly liked about this is that the police cannot. It prevents police from searching people's homes over the smell of cannabis. That's great. There's more to this bill. You can go to if you're from Louisiana. We have a friend down there, Miss Green. She loves us. We love you. So, but read about the law down there, and you can find it on Marijuana Moment if you want to read about all the different laws and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna read them all, but good for you, Louisiana. Go get it. Can't go in anybody's houses anymore, police, because you smell cannabis. Beat it. Mind your own business. Adult use cannabis companies struggle to stay afloat amid overproduction and falling prices. Everybody for a while thought the cannabis industry was so untouchable, but when you have so much being produced and so much being sold, what happens? Prices drop. Mm-hmm. As mainstream businesses cope with surging inflation and the threat of recession, many adult use cannabis companies, growers, retailers, and ancillary businesses alike are struggling with their own host of problems. Falling prices and a product glut in more established state cannabis markets are forcing companies out of business, triggering layoffs and setting off an industry-wide scramble to stay afloat. Colorado, Oregon, Washington states are among the more mature markets where wholesale cannabis prices have tumbled because growers produce far more flower than retailers can absorb. The falling prices have put added strain on cannabis growers and retailers. Ancillary businesses are also struggling with tech companies of Colorado and Duchy of Oregon, as well as California-based delivery operator Ease, recently shedding employees. Yes, there was a bunch of layoffs the last 2-3 weeks in the cannabis industry. Crazy, like not even like small layoffs, like 20%, 30% in some of these companies. Yeah, some were small, 5-10, but still layoffs. You wouldn't think it. You think cannabis is untouchable,
right?
It's not. No industry is untouchable when there's a fucking recession about and gas prices and inflation are through the roof. So nothing is untouchable. Compounding the problems of cannabis companies, cannabis products are often taxed at higher rate than mainstream goods such as corn, milk, and automobiles. Of course, because the government's trying to get all that. I just put a post on my story about the government taking money, trying to be the man when they were arresting people for it. Now they want to own it, so and collect all the tax dollars. So. Revenue has dropped month after month, year after year, and this is in Washington, to the point now they're just barely able to keep doors open, says James Withrop, owner of Cannabis City and cannabis retailer in Seattle. In response, retailers are using a variety of tactics to stay afloat, including offering consumers steep price discounts, which I talked about in the last episode about sales. Just means bad things are happening. Not all the time, but most of the time. Exciting the retail business altogether to focus on cultivation, opening entirely new businesses such as cannabis-themed beer lounges in order to drive traffic back to their stores. It's going well for almost nobody, said Matt Wallstatter, who sold his Oregon store Pure Green in 2019 to focus on cultivation. When I go to industry events, I don't really talk about my business because everybody's talking about how terrible it is and what a bloodbath. Or the West Coast having problems. I know Michigan, they took a big low cut on a lot of their flower this year. A lot of states, some of the newer markets, they might not be seeing it right now. Here in Illinois, we're not. I mean, we see a little bit of down, but it's been maintaining pretty good. So, but it's gonna be crazy for a while, folks out there. Wear those seatbelts. Hope remains dim for medical cannabis legalization in North Carolina. You had it. It was so close. North Carolina, NC, what the fuck? It was in your grasp. And I know I read another article too saying that it's still a possibility. I don't believe it though. They're saying this year it's done. So sad. So sad. Smart people.
Yeah.
It's finally like taking them this long to realize that cannabis is the good drug of choice.
No, I think the smart people knew that. But the studies are finally figuring it out.
There you go.
So why cannabis is now the drug of choice for smart people. The higher the IQ, the higher the chance of using cannabis, says this study. A new study says the higher your IQ... apparently my IQ is not that great right now. A new study says the higher your IQ, the higher chance of using cannabis when you're older. The consumption of cannabis, as well as numerous other types of psychedelic substances, is more pronounced these days than ever before. From executives to programmers at Silicon Valley, it's safe to assume almost everyone is high from something at some point. But it's become increasingly clear that weed is the drug of choice for those with higher IQs. This is contrary to the reefer world stereotypes that prohibitionists have been pushing. They have claimed that cannabis users are lazy, couch potatoes, and have no ambition in life.
Such a lie.
In fact, in 2011, study conducted by researchers from the British Medical Journal analyzed the IQs of around 8,000 males and females. They were tested 4 times each, from the time they were 5 years of age to 30. Their findings revealed that people who have higher IQs when they were children were more likely to be cannabis users by the time they hit the age of 30. What was surprising was that the higher their IQ, the higher the probability that they would use cannabis when they got older. High IQ women were twice as likely to be cannabis users compared to those with low IQ scores, while men who had high IQs were 50% more likely to use cannabis by 30. But one doesn't really need studies to understand why more intelligent people use weed. There are no clear-cut reasons why, though it makes sense to hypothesize the reasons behind this. Creativity. Cannabis has been proven to enhance creativity and overall creative thinking. Whether you're an artist or work at a startup, creative thinking will benefit your intelligence in more ways than one. Just some of the famous creatives who have been known to toke include Bill Gates, Bob Dylan, Carl Sagan, Bill Maher, and Abraham Lincoln, to name a few. Besides, everyone can benefit from the weed's ability to help you think outside the box, especially when it comes to problem solving. Studies show that consuming cannabis has an impact on the kind of thinking that we do because it boosts cerebral flow in the brain's frontal regions, which are responsible for creativity or lack thereof. The chemicals in cannabis are shown to boost divergent thinking, which is what promotes creative and free thoughts, as opposed to convergent thinking, which is associated with problem solving. All right, another reason. Quiet the intelligent mind. Smarter people and those with higher IQs tend to struggle with many more thoughts at a much faster pace compared to people with average intelligence. That's because smart people already know that they are usually surrounded by people who may not be interested in the hard facts or correct way of thinking, making it tiresome to continue debating and arguing with people. This can explain why many smart people are also quieter than others, preferring instead to be alone with their thoughts. When the thoughts get too much, smart people turn to cannabis to turn it down a notch or two. THC and CBD compounds can do wonderful things for mental relaxation, helping to shut off the thoughts that typically force them to think about anything and everything in the world all at once. Another reason? Socialize intellectually, intelligently, and responsibly. Smart people know that alcohol is not the best social lubricant. Cannabis is. Whereas alcohol can make you act stupid and give you terrible hangovers. Weed doesn't. It's the ideal social lubricant for you when you have to rub elbows with people at work.
Hell yeah, it is.
Other programmers, artists, and creatives, or brainstorm with your peers. Given how socially accepted weed is these days, it's becoming more common for people to bring weed or even attend get-togethers stoned, passing a joint around as you talk politics, business, life, and just about anything in between.
It's been a while since you and I have not gone to a party or a get-together.
Where we smoked there.
We smoked there, or actually maybe smoked pen rips on the way there, or inedible before we left.
Might have a drink or two, but then we hop outside and smoke a joint.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah, so much better. Another reason, improved cognitive processes. Cannabis has numerous benefits for the brain and thinking, and many studies to prove it. For one, recreational drugs and alcohol kill and impair the growth of new brain cells. Weed does the opposite. The formation of these new cells are a great help in improving memory retention, and it also helps to prevent mood disorders. If a person suffers from anxiety, it can also prevent them from thinking properly, as it affects executive brain function, but cannabis can help alleviate that too. In addition, a study also shows that there is a link between cannabis use and better cognitive performance when it comes to attention, executive function, working memory, psychomotor speed, and verbal learning. In other words, we can say that weed helps smart people become even smarter. I need to smoke some weed. I don't know that I'm not smart, but maybe I'll get smarter. People of all intelligence levels use cannabis and can benefit from it. We know that weed is the key to living a healthy, balanced lifestyle, especially when we're prone to so much pressure and stress at work. We know that it helps us become better people in and out of the office, and we also know that it's far healthier for us than other drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. Smart people also know so much more about the available forms of escape out there, and they know more than their peers about the best, safest, and healthiest ways to cope with day-to-day life. And no doubt, it's cannabis.
For the win.
For the win.
I mean, I'm not smart, but I know smart enough to know, I might be smart enough to know, or I am smart enough to know that cannabis is great.
Hey, are you smart enough?
No.
You smart?
Sometimes.
You smoke weed. You'll get smarter.
I fucking love it.
Let's do some research. Give me that bowl.
Right here, Mrs. Weedman.
Thanks. All right, why not, right? I'm going to make myself smarter right now. Excuse me, everybody.
International news. Spain set to approve medical cannabis sales in pharmacies. So they have cannabis clubs there in Spain. You have to be a member to get cannabis from. But this is now going as a subcommittee, and Spain's Congress of Deputies approved a draft bill to regulate some medical cannabis sales in the country, sending the proposal to the Health Commission for another key vote. Through the spending law foresees extremely strict rules for distribution, the bill is being hailed as the first step that could eventually lead to a broader access. After the expected approval of the Health Commission, the Spanish Medicines Agency will have 6 months to adopt new recommendations into regulations. Well, let's do it. Spain, I want to go back there and visit, so let's go. 22.2 million Europeans consumed cannabis in past year, report says. 22.2 million Europeans.
Wow.
Pretty good.
That's a lot.
An estimated 22 million adults in Europe, European Union, or 7.7% of the population, consumed cannabis in the past year, according to a report by the European Monitoring Center of Drugs and Drug Addiction, which compiled research from dozens of surveys. Ms. Weeman got ripped
Choking.
off that one.
Choking.
So good for the European Union and keep on.
But only 7%.
There's a lot of people live in Europe. So, but
But 7% is
yeah, but that's
small
what they.
number.
That's it's not. I mean,
Aren't we like 28 or 32% or something in the U.S.?
more. I think 144 million people in the U.S. have smoked cannabis or are smoking cannabis right now.
Yeah, right this minute. Everybody should be. Wouldn't that be fun to just go out in the world and everybody, not kids, right? But every adult was just stoned. Be like, gosh, everybody would just be nice.
Be a better fucking world. Everyone would be kind and show
We'd laugh
empathy
a little more.
So, here's a good one. Switzerland set to launch regulated medical cannabis market. Switzerland's 7-member federal council has presented Parliament with an amendment to the country's Narcotics Act to remove the ban on medical cannabis, effectively opening the door to a wider addressable market. Additionally, a special permit from the Federal Office of Public Health will no longer be required, and a patient will be able to get normal prescriptions from their doctor. Yay! I just saw that Switzerland's one of the top 10 places to be at or live or go to if there's a nuclear war. So if they're legalizing cannabis too there, Switzerland, here we come, baby.
Oh, my mom's over there right now, and she's been sending some pictures, and it looks spectacular.
Spectacular. Smoking
Just
big fat doink looking at one of those mountains.
Green and mountains and lakes and rivers. It looks beautiful.
When was the last time you were on a bus?
A bus.
I think it was Portland. It was the last time we were on a bus. Last time I was on a bus. Been a while. I'm not talking about the skunk bus.
Key West. I was on a bus in Key West.
There you go. So I'm not talking about like a you know, like you go on a beer crawl or a bar crawl and you go on. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about like a regular bus. You know, it's been a while. Portland, I think it was for me a few years back. So, but there was a bus driver.
Yeah, this poor guy.
Poor guy.
This bus driver was on a freeway. He was eating some gummies, and he didn't know his gummies were filled with THC.
This poor
Shoot.
guy.
Bridgeport, Connecticut, a commercial bus driver has been charged with 38 counts of reckless endangerment after blacking out behind the steering wheel while snacking on gummies he said he didn't know were infused with THC. Jinwan Chen appeared Tuesday in Bridgeport Superior Court after being arrested at his home in Boston. Chen was driving 38 passengers from the Mohegan Sun Casino on March 13th when he stopped the bus on the side of the interstate in Stratford. Police said they found Chen slumped unconscious in the driver's seat next to an open package of Smokies edibles, cannabis-infused fruit chews. Oh, Chen. Toxicology tests showed Chen had high levels of THC in his bloodstream, prosecutors said. Chen told Judge Didi Moses on Tuesday that he had no idea he had been snacking on anything but regular candy. I could see that. Like, he's driving his bus, got his people, probably has his lunch bag down by the bottom of his seat, grabs into the bag and grabs something to eat and never looks at the package,
But I want to know how they got in there.
Well, maybe his wife or his significant other, maybe someone he lives with made him his lunch. And maybe he's, you're rushing out the door and you're like, oh, just grab something. Oh, my wife bought something. Oh, that looks good. Right. Colorful package.
Yeah.
You don't even read it. Drop it in your lunch bag.
It. I know.
Right? You just eat it blind. You trusted it came from your house.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Gummies.
I mean, I don't think anybody would eat a whole bag of gummies behind the wheel of a bus.
No. Not at all.
So, anyway. I didn't know it was marijuana, Chen said through a Chinese interpreter, according to Hearst, Connecticut media. I just didn't know. Moses ordered Chen held on $25,000 bond and set his next court date for August. So this poor guy's on bond until August 25th. Victor Chen, the manager of GoGo Sun Tour Bus Company, told Hearst that Jinwan Chen had been driving for the Boston-based company for 10 years and has an exemplary record. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, but he does have a sweet tooth and he likes candy, Victor Chen said. This would never have happened a couple of years ago, but now there's marijuana everywhere, he added. So that's the end of the article, short and sweet, but hopefully Mr. Chen gets his day in court and he's able to fight this. And,
Mr. Chen, good luck out there. Yep. Poor guy. Major League Baseball teams can now be sponsored by CBD companies, Baseball League official says. The MLB is now reportedly allowing baseball teams in the league to sell sponsorships to cannabis companies that market CBD products as long as they meet certain criteria. MLB has been among the more progressive professional sports organizations in the U.S. when it comes to cannabis, and this reported development represents another example of how Baseball League is normalizing cannabis. It's not THC companies, it's just CBD. I'm sure in the next couple of years, baseball will be the first to get THC sponsorship because they know they're going to get some big money from THC sponsorship.
Yeah, right.
But probably waiting for it to go federally legal. But you never know. They might be like, you know what? Fuck it. We ain't waiting. So in order for the team to sell CBD sponsorship, Sports Business Journal first reported a prospective company's products must be certified by NSF International, a consumer safety and product testing organization that sports leagues use, and the club must also receive authorization from the MLB Commissioner's Office. The move was announced by the league in a conference call with team makers on last Tuesday. MLB Chief Revenue Officer Noah Garden said that while certain cannabis brands have reached out about getting their CBD products certified, none have received a status yet, the sports news outlet reported. None of them are there yet, although around 3 to 5 brands are in process. He was quoted as saying, "We've been watching this category for a while and waiting for it to mature to the point where we can get comfortable with it," the MLB office said. Get comfortable with what? Come on. Our fans are half of your fans are stoned out in the parking lot having a couple road pops and smoking some fat doinks in the parking lot before they go in the stadiums. Your fans are used to it. So the last few companies that came to see us in this process of the NSF certification as embraced, Garden added, they gave us comfort level to be able to move forward. MLB has stood out among other professional sports leagues as more willing to respond to changing cannabis policy landscape. For example, it clarified in a memo in 2020 that players will not be punished for using cannabis while they aren't working, but they can't be personally sponsored by a cannabis company or hold investments in the industry, which is still weird. Why? Mm-hmm. Why can't they invest? It doesn't make any difference. It's not your money. Let them fucking do what they want with it. So, The update built upon MLB's decision in 2019 to remove cannabis from the league's list of banned substances. Before the rule changed, players who tested positive for THC were referred to mandatory treatment, and failure to comply carried a fine up to $35,000. That penalty is now gone. The policies are a result of negotiations between MLB and its players' union. Both parties agreed to approach the league's drug policy with the emphasis of treatment rather than penalties. Players who test positive for opioids or cocaine, for example, will be penalized only if they refuse treatment. A number of athletic governance bodies have recently relaxed rules around cannabinoids as laws change and medical applications become more widely accepted. Pretty good, you know. I'm glad that we're seeing sports starting to accept it. You know, it's better than half of those painkillers those poor players used to have to take. You know, good luck MLB, good luck CBD companies. Hopefully it all works out, and you know, be seeing some billboards in some stadiums soon, I bet. Hey, Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
It's the end of Pride Month.
It is.
We'll give a shout out. We tried reaching out to the owner of the company. We probably a little too late, but we use a company here we went into business with to make our website, Puff Creative.
Yep, they're out of Colorado. And their owner, Katie, is part of the LGBTQ plus community. And just a shout out to them. It's a fantastic company. She is I believe she founded the company, and then she has some co-owners and a great team of support, and they've been great to work with. And if you're getting ready to market a product or build a website, just a shout out to them and their professionalism. And
they're good stuff.
They're good.
Yeah, so we appreciate you, Katie, at Puff Creative. Happy Pride Month, everybody. We won't be doing another show before it ends, but it's like I said, it's Pride Month every day, not just in the month of June. And then happy 4th of July to everybody. I know there's a lot of craziness going on in the United States right now, but you know what? We love you. You know what? Still 4th of July. It is my favorite holiday of the year. I love the whole weekend. I love just being with family and friends and barbecuing, going to the beach and hanging out and not having to worry about a single fucking thing but getting high, drinking a couple of cocktails, and cooking barbecue. So I know some people right now are pissed off at the United States, but I tell you what, I still love this country, and I'm proud to be here. And
I thought you were going to cry.
I know for a second there, you know. But you know what? It just, you know, I know there's a lot of shit going on right now, but I love you all. Peace be with you all out there. Let's fucking fix some shit by smoking some weed and making us all smart. Got anything else to say, Mrs. Weedman?
Nothing.
You doing all right?
I'm all right.
I love you.
I'm pretty stoned. Just nice. I'm nice and mellow, like it said.
Love it.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.